Hello and welcome to another Let's Play of Eldfall Chronicles. This time we are in the final quest of the Heart of Obsidian campaign, where the party of the Coalition of Thenion has to destroy the alchemist who has fused in a canyon with a stone and is now using the previously retrieved artifact to animate all sorts of creatures, as you can see here through the windows. One gargoyle, two gargoyles, a golem and a colossus to protect him. But the party is not alone. As you can see here, the Onitashi has joined. She will be not using the Onitashi profile. Instead, she will be using the profile of the Amazon Gladiatrix. I currently have not the miniature for the Amazon. That is because the Northern Wind Kickstarter takes a little bit longer to ship. Therefore, as soon as this arrives, I will have both versions of the Amazon Gladiatrix. And since the party also got updates in form of 10 recruitment points, I use it to rebuy the first aid kit for the Night Temple Priestess. And for this mission or quest, the party is able to purchase Scroll of Dispel Magic, which I signified here with the Arcane Artifact and Toolkit cards, a total of 4. And these might be useful because, let me just get around the table, the Alchemist, here represented by a miniature from Mantic Games. The Alchemist has 3 hit points and armor class of 10. Against range attack, the armor class is increased by 3 to a total of 13. The armor cannot be ignored with the exception of critical hits of melee attacks, but the armor can be weakened by the Dispel Magic. And also, within 10 inches of the Alchemist, the terrain counts as toxic and hazard. So therefore, with the Dispel Magic spell, first the environment of toxic and hazard is removed with the first success, the second reduces the armor to 6, and the third Dispel Magic scroll reduces the armor to 2. The goal of this quest is to destroy the Alchemist, and once he's destroyed, all the minions he has are automatically destroyed, and also the gargoyles, once they're destroyed, they will respawn in base contact with the terrain feature so that they are as close as possible to the player's models. And if more than one location is eligible, they spawn in a location that is closer to the Alchemist. So, the Ranger Skill Hunter is quite endangered here, but it would be able to protect him if one or more of these models get closer to, for example, one of these 3 trees or this building. So there are some options to protect the Ranger Skill Hunter. And with all this said, let me start off this game with the first turn of the Coalition of Thenion. For the Coalition of Thenion's first activation, I decided to go with the Night Temple Priestess, who took on flight in the strategic phase, used a run action to move around 16 inches, or fly around 16 inches up to here. Since she's flying, there's no risk from the Colossus or the Gargoyle. And now she's roughly within 12... yeah, let's say it's 16 inches. But since she has the imported casting amplifier, she nevertheless would have 20 inches reach. And now she will use the first of the scrolls of Dispel Magic, which requires an intelligence check, and that is rerollable. So, intelligence of 14 or less. With a 15, it's a good thing that it is rerollable. This one is cocked between the tokens. And a 19. So, the second activation was also for nothing, and she used up one of the consumable scrolls of Dispel Magic. That was not the start I intended or expected to happen, especially not with the reroll, but it's the way it is. So let me see what will be the next movement of the Coalition of Thenion. Okay, after action report. This quest was interesting. I think the key moment was in the first turn when these two actually slew the Colossus as the main threat, which was really impressive. And yeah, that was definitely some lucky die roll. The Knight Tempest Priestess, on the other hand, had difficulties reading the scrolls, therefore the battler was in a lucky situation because this was not as crucial as these two. It's a little bit sad that the Knight Hunter, the Ranger Skilled Hunter died, but what do I think about this all in all of the Heart of Obsidian campaign? This group, especially with the Slayer Dragoon and the Climbing Expert upgrade, is extremely mobile. Ranger class, climbing and 18 inches run distance and flying. Mobility won definitely this campaign. It's an interesting campaign, and I think I will continue with this as to get a feeling for a new faction, especially since the Oni and the Goblins are on the horizon. Looking forward to try out these. But I think for the next game, or until I have the Northern Wind campaign in my hand and can get with you guys into dungeon crawling, I think I will do some PvP or faction versus faction videos as I already done. And I will see where this little band will go to next. So, thank you for watching and have a good day. Okay, so far the Colossus has never seen action in any quest it was used in, but now let's see if the Slayer Dragoon has any right to hold her title. She will use a dash action to run close to the Colossus and be within 2 inches, and will use a single attack against the Colossus. The Colossus, on the other hand, will spend its activation and dodge towards the Slayer Dragoon. And since the Colossus is 2 sizes larger than the Lupus Rex, the Slayer Dragoon will not get any knockback quality. So with this, the Colossus will set the bar. It has an agility of 6 and it is a 5. Therefore the Colossus actually managed to dodge the attack of the Slayer Dragoon as long as it is not a critical hit on a 1, 2, 3 because of assassin. It's a 10. Therefore, not enough to hit the Colossus because of the successful dodge. And the Slayer Dragoon will activate once more and try to repair. Wait, before this, she has the advantage against large, huge, and colossal creatures, therefore she's allowed to reroll. Still, with a 6, not enough. Now, the Colossus will activate also, and since it is a target of an attack and it has line of sight and is within 1 inch, it will use a hack and thrash attack. Therefore, 1 attack from the Colossus with a defense of 14 and 1 attack of the Slayer Dragoon. The Colossus 14 or less, it's a 15. It didn't manage to hit the Slayer Dragoon. Offense of 17 or less, 16. This is enough. She has a total power of 24 minus the 10 armor. Therefore 14 or less to put 2 wounds on the Colossus. It's an 8. This is enough. 2 additional wounds, or 2 wounds at the Colossus. 4 remaining. The Colossus has 6 wounds in total. And since the Slayer Dragoon used her attack, she's now allowed to use the hit and retreat ability of her Lupus Rex. Disengage for more than 9 inches. 6, 7, 8, 9. Just to get a little bit more leeway between herself and the Colossus. And with all this, it is no question what will happen next. Therefore, now stop in recording. The Amazon Gladiatrix will spend her first of 3 activations just to run closer. Then she will spend her second activation to get into 2 inches reach and use her heavy pole arm to attack the Colossus. Since it is outside of 1 inch reach, the Colossus will spend its last activation to dodge towards the Amazon Gladiatrix. Once again, the Colossus starts with agility, dodge with the agility of 6. It's a 4, once again, successfully. And now the Amazon Gladiatrix has usually one attack for her heavy polearm, a second one because she has the brute trait, and she has an offense of 16. But since the Colossus dodged successfully, she will need a 1, and she will use the crippling, threshing, withering limbs, her Berserker 3 ability, I don't know how it is called, to get the crippling trait. And with a 14 and a 13, once again, the successful dodge of the Colossus prevented any damage. But now, the Amazon Gladiatrix will spend her third activation point to attack again the Colossus. 16 or less, since it is out of any activation points, with a 2 and a 4, 2 hits. And the Amazon Gladiatrix only has a total power of 17 minus the armor 10, so therefore 7 or less to wound, and the heavy polearm also has the cleave ability. With a 2 and an 18, the 2 is enough, therefore 2 additional wounds at the Colossus. And now the Amazon Gladiatrix finishing strike activates. And let me see if I can get it to you here. If a model successfully wounds, come on, let me get it focus. It is currently not happening. Finishing strike. If a model with this successfully wounds a target model after the damage related states are applied, it may immediately make an additional strike 1 attack that cannot be modified using the same item spell. Therefore, it's another strike 1 attack, and since it conferred the crippling against it, it must the Colossus must afterwards make a wound with it, must make a toughness roll, and otherwise its agility and its speed are halved. Since this might be important for the next turn, I will just make the toughness test of 17 or less with a 4. No surprise, it is successfully succeeded. And now the finishing strike attack, maybe it gets its name right. Therefore 16 or less. It is a 16, barely enough. And now once again 7 or less, and the Colossus is destroyed in the first turn. It's a 2. And since the heavy polearm has the cleave ability, the Colossus gets 2 additional wounds and is immediately destroyed. Another game where the Colossus was not able to show its value, which is really sad because it's still a very beautiful model. But with this, the first turn of the Coalition of Thenion is done. A little bit of repositioning. The Knight Temple Priestess failed in her attempt to dispel any protection that the Alchemist has, but the Slayer Dragoon, in combination with the Amazon Gladiatrix, managed to destroy the Colossus in the first turn. So let me reposition the respawning Gargoyle and in general do some movement for the hostiles, and I'll see you in their first turn. The respawning Gargoyle had to come to this terrain piece because it's the closest to the Alchemist. Therefore it spawned as close as possible to the model with the lowest hit point value it can reach, or potentially reach, since the Knight Temple Priest is flying. Therefore it will move its 10 inches up to here, which will trigger some actions, because first of all, the Amazon Gladiatrix will use a dodge action to move 2.5 inches, just to get a little closer towards the Gargoyle. Also the Slayer Dragoon will activate. She will dodge 4.5 inches, also closer to get into the action. Then the Knight Temple Priestess will also activate. Since she's flying, she can use her 5-inch movement to reposition a little bit, moving up to here, right to the center. And finally, the Hunter's Guild Ranger will activate, and he will use he will attack the gargoyle, making a little shot. Accuracy of 14 or less. With the 19, he is unable to hit the gargoyle. Next, we will continue with the gargoyle, still out of reach. Therefore, it will use a run action to get into contact with the Ranger's Guild Hunter. The Ranger's Guild Hunter will respond with an attack by him, with an attack, trying to improve. 14 or less. 17, he missed. And with this, the gargoyle is in base contact, but also the Amazon Gladiatrix will activate. Once again, dodging 2.5 inches to hopefully help Ranger's Guild Hunter next turn. And with that, this gargoyle, actually, since both the gargoyle and the golem are only able to move this turn, I will move them and I will let you join with the second turn of the Coalition of Thenion. As you see, I moved the golem, but I did not finish the turn of the gargoyle. That is because if we have a quick look at the gargoyle's movement, it is most likely to move here past the Amazon Gladiatrix with a reach of 2 inches. Therefore, I will allow the Amazon Gladiatrix to make an attack action as an attack of opportunity against the gargoyle. Against the gargoyle as soon as the gargoyle moves through its 2-inch reach. And the Amazon Gladiatrix has a defense value of 12, therefore 12 or less to hit. It's a 6, total power of 17 minus armor 5, therefore 12 or less. It's a 17 and the gargoyle survived this attack of opportunity. So now I'll prepare the Coalition of Thenion's second turn and I'll let you join then. The Coalition's second turn started with the Nighttime Priest once again flying above the terrain to a new position, and now she will use her second Dispel Magic scroll, 14 or less rerollable, to remove the toxic and hazard effect. With a roll of 2, this time she was successful, and now she immediately spends her second activation to reposition a little bit further, going up to here, staying within 20 inches and line of sight, but to pivot a little bit to get a wider range of view, and using her third scroll and second scroll at this turn, once again Dispel Magic, to reduce the armor of only 6 instead of 10. 18 is not enough, 14 or less, rerollable. It's a 15. Therefore, she only managed to infect the alchemist once, and she lost 2 additional scrolls. So, with this, she has only 1 scroll left. The alchemist will at least have armor 6, if not even less. And let me think what I will do next with the Coalition of Thenion, and I'll let you join them. Next, the Ranger's Guild Hunter will activate. He will dodge 3 inches and getting down, and immediately he will spend his second activation point to once again move 6 inches closer to the Amazon Gladiatrix, but he will actually use his action to attack this gargoyle. The gargoyle will try to dodge, agility of 6 I think. With a 9 it is far above, and just checking, agility of, let me just get you around to see, it's even an agility of 8, but as the result is a 9, it is not enough to dodge. Now accuracy of 14 or less, and 18 and the 3, because of the assassin class it is a critical hit, therefore 16 or less to destroy the gargoyle, and with another 3 this gargoyle is destroyed and will respawn at the next possibility. And with this, I think the Amazon Gladiatrix will activate next. She will move into contact with the golem and attack. The golem, on the other hand, will respond in kind. The golem has a defense value of 13, therefore 13 or less. 13 is quite high, so therefore the Amazon Gladiatrix has to roll critical hits, or between 13 and 16. It's an 8 and a 19. With this, the golem wins. It has a power of 15. The Amazon Gladiatrix has an armor of 2. 13 or less to wound. It's a 12. But the Amazon uses her Berserker class to make a toughness check of... Let's have another look. Toughness of 14. To ignore this wound. With an 8, she ignores this wound. But she's not done with the golem. She will attack, and the golem will once again attack 2. It's a 20 for the golem, therefore it failed. The Amazon Gladiatrix has a 7 and a 4. 2 hits, power of 17 minus armor 8, therefore 9 or less. It's an 8 and a 14. Because of the cleave ability, these are 2 wounds at the golem. And she's allowed to make a finishing strike. Once again, 16 or less. She hits. And power 17 minus armor 8, 9 or less. It's a 5, and the finishing strike destroyed the golem, who will not respawn. So with this, I will think about the next activation for the Coalition of Thenion, and we will see who will move next. As you can see in the focus, yeah, these are 6 inches, another 6 inches with 18 inches. The Slay Dragoon once again calls a dash action, runs up to the Alchemist, and I think I need both. This is why I'm removing them. And she will go straight in for the kill. Often 17, she still has to hit him. With a 2, it is even a critical hit because of the assassin class. And since this is a critical hit in melee, the armor is ignored of 10, therefore it's an automatic hit wound with a 9 or less. With a 9 because she needed a 24 or less. Since this has the cleave ability, the Alchemist also gets 2 wounds of its 3 hit points. And now the second activation, another attack. It's a 19, she misses. So, and now since the Gargoyle will spawn closest to the Alchemist, one of these 3 will be the goal. And I think I will leave the Amazon Gladiatrix close to the Ranger Skill Hunter, just to protect him. And now the hostile will have their most likely last turn, or at least that's what I'm expecting with the Slayer Dragoon in contact with the Alchemists. But we will see. With the game as good as done, let's just have a little bit of fun. So, starting with this Gargoyle. I will just remove its 2 activation points, because of 5 inches it will be not able to get into contact, therefore it will spend a run action to get into contact with the Ranger Guild Hunter, who will activate and attack, and also the Amazon Gladiatrix will attack. Since it's a defense turn, only 1, starting with the Ranger Guild Hunter. 14 or less, it is not enough. The Amazon Gladiatrix needing a 12 or less. With a 13, she's just above it. And now the Gargoyle will attack the Ranger Guild Hunter. The Ranger Guild Hunter will use a dodge action. He is not interested in fighting the Gargoyle fair and square. And the Amazon Gladiatrix will attack. So, I need another die. The Ranger Guild Hunter, needing, I think it's a 12. Let's just roll. It's a 9. It is definitely enough to dodge. The Gargoyle needing a 12 or less, or exactly now a critical hit. If the Ranger wouldn't have dodged, this would be quite a terrifying roll. But since the Ranger Guild Hunter dodged, he is able to cancel the engage state and just jump over the terrain. But still, the Amazon Gladiatrix is allowed to hit. And with a 2, it's beneath the defense value of 12. Now she needs 12 or less to wound the gargoyle. It's a 10, and she just destroyed the gargoyle. This gargoyle, once again, uses a run activation. It will move around the Amazon Gladiatrix. And since the Skilled Hunter is out of activations, it will attack 12 or less, 2 hits, power of 12, armor of 2, 10 or less to wound, 15 and 3, and with this, the Ranger's Guild Hunter is not only knocked down, but he is even dead, since only 1 wound and another attack, therefore coup de grace, and he's out. The Gargoyle gets an extra attack, and it will just go over to attack the Amazon Gladiatrix, who will respawn in turn and attacks. Also, she sets the bar at a natural 1. The Gargoyle failed to hit spectacularly, and with a 9 she's able to wound the Gargoyle, who is just destroyed. So, 1 dead, at least in this mission, and the Gargoyles will just respawn, I think, around this building, and afterwards we will see the most likely last turn of the Coalition of Thenion in this game. As you can see here, the Amazon Gladiatrix used 2 activations to run also within range of the Alchemist. You can see here, this is definitely within 2 inches. Also, the Nighttime Priestess came a little bit closer to cast Fiery Fever at the Slayer Dragoon, and now she will use her last Scroll of Dispel Magic in an attempt to weaken the armor, therefore 14 rerollable, and it's a 13. Finally she was able to, or she learned how to read the scroll. So the Alchemist is affected a second time, which means that the Alchemist's armor is reduced to 2. The armor is now reduced to 6. A third successful Dispel Magic would have reduced the Alchemist's hit points to 2, and yeah, which would basically mean gain. But now the Slayer Dragoon activates. 1 attack against the Alchemist, 17 or less, and it's a 3. Once again, she's ignoring the armor, therefore it's a 7. The Alchemist is wounded, he takes 2 additional wounds, gets up to a total of 4, and he is slain, and the remaining 2 gargoyles crumble to dust. And the Coalition of Thenion actually has won the campaign Heart of Obsidian with 1 casualty. The Ranger Guild Hunter died in the last quest, so let me clean up the board and I'll see you at the after game action. Okay, after action report. This quest was interesting. I think the key moment was in the first turn when these 2 actually slew the Colossus as the main threat, which was really impressive, and yeah, it was definitely some lucky die roll. The Night Tempest Priestess, on the other hand, had difficulties reading the scroll, so therefore the battler was in a lucky situation because this was not as crucial as these 2. It's a little bit sad that the the Ranger Guild Hunter died, but what do I think about this all in all of the Heart of Obsidian campaign? This group, especially with the Slayer Dragoon and the Climbing Expert upgrade, is extremely mobile. Ranger class, climbing and 18 inches run distance and flying. Mobility won definitely this campaign. It's an interesting campaign, and I think I will continue with this as get a feeling for a new faction, especially since the Oni and the Goblins are on the horizon. Looking forward to try out these. But I think for the next game, or until I have the Northern Wind campaign in my hand and can get with you guys into dungeon crawling, I think I will do some PvP or faction versus faction videos, as I already done, and I will see where this little band will go to next. So thank you for watching and have a good day.